from the band Haunt Me. Thank you so much for joining me. Uh,
Of
Again, I'm
course.
fangirling a bit. I am a fan. You guys are fucking amazing. How was the show at Nosferatu the other weekend? That was just a few days ago. How was it?
Yeah, it was amazing. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm excited to be here, and thanks for reaching out. Yeah, Nosferatu was great. Nosferatu Fest was super cool. It was our first time playing, and it was just like an awesome experience. It was a big crowd, and everyone really liked it and seemed to be vibing. So yeah, we had a great time.
Now, you say this was your first show as Haunt Me, but you yourself, Darius, you've been playing in bands since 12 years old, right? From what I've read, you share a lot, and I really appreciate that as a fan. I think it's important that you stay humble and connected with your fans so they know what you're about, and that's what drew me in. Was of course the music initially, but the things that you had to say. So, being up on stage with Haunt Me, was it different from the other experiences, or how
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah, so yeah, I've been in band since I was 12, like you were saying. It's definitely different with Haunt Me. I've never, like all the other bands I've been in before, they experienced some level of success, which is great, but not like nowhere near this level that Haunt Me's like kind of started to reach. And we're still a very young band. We actually just hit our
Hmm.
1 year mark a couple of weeks ago. So we only hit a year, and in a year, in a short amount of time, like I feel like we've kind of gained a lot of momentum and accomplished so much more than I ever really thought that the project would. I just kind of started it for fun, because I love making music, and it was a COVID project, and I think it was like being a creator, like mental health wise, I'm happiest when I'm creating, and I'm happiest when I'm making music, and it was healthy. It was like a creative, healthy outlet for me during that like quarantine period, starting this band. So it's been different in a lot of ways, mostly reception wise, just because a lot of people seem to have been giving us a lot of support, which has just blown me away, and it truly is humbling. And I'm just really grateful. We're all grateful.
That's so badass. And this is what I love doing. I'm with you, and this is why you resonate with me. I actually had a little message here that I personally don't believe, because again, I'm a creator, I'm a dreamer Pisces. I was just explaining to my husband the other day, we were stoned out of our minds. And instead of just watching TV, I was like divulging to him like my passion and love for music. I can't sing, I don't play any instruments, so I rely on people like you. But it's the connection that I've made with bands like Haunt Me during the pandemic, the ones that took the pain and the depression and the hardship and made something beautiful at it. So I out of it. I don't believe that I happen upon bands like Haunt Me, by accident. I actually think it's fate. Um, Haunt Me is extra special, Darius, because you convey the message in the things I've said as well as written. When I make a big deal out of artists and even my own depression, I like writing poetry out of it, once I can function. Um, so tell us a little bit more, elaborate on the birth of Haunt Me. You said that it happened during 2001. You didn't, so it's like you had the whole year of 2020. What did you do at that point? Like, and what were you doing before?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, we started in 2021. In 2020, I was still that was kind of like the start of like quarantine, right? That was the start of
Mhm.
like, shutting down. I was kind of like I had been playing music like all my life. So at that point I was like, you know what? Maybe this is like a much needed break from music. You know what I mean? Like maybe this is much needed, and I should just take this time to like focus on other things, kind of relax and stop. It was a break from playing shows. Like I'd spent like 15 years or 10 years, however long it's been, uh, of just playing shows back to back and like recording and releasing music. And it was just like, it can be exhausting.
Mhm.
Obviously I love it, but it can be exhausting to do that, especially when like, you're not necessarily growing as much as you want to grow as a band or as a musical artist, like fan base wise. It can be exhausting, and it can be kind of like it can take a toll on you mentally and physically. So
Mhm.
when quarantine initially happened, I was like, you know what, this would be a good time to just like recharge the batteries, take a break from playing music, and just kind of like let it come back, let the love come back naturally, right?
Ooh.
So that's pretty much what I did. Like during 2020, I just took it easy. I was still working that whole time, so that kept me busy, and I was going to school. I was on my last semester of college at the time when COVID started. So I was just going to school. So I was busy with other things.
Mhm.
And then I just let the love just naturally come back to me for music. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did that year.
That's actually a beautiful answer. It just gets better and better with you. Uh, and it's different because everyone that I talked to before was more upset, about quarantine happening and shows being canceled. I'm with you. It was like, oh, I get a little bit of a break from the running around and being that. Oh, we were so exhausted from 2019. So
Mm.
I get it. So
So So I actually have a podcast, and I love post production because it's like you can edit anything. You know what I mean?
right? But I prefer to do pre-recording stuff. But that is a really, really good response because it is different from what I've heard before. And the fact that you let the love come back to you, you weren't pressured by, the successes of other startup bands that just got started during the pandemic. Which is really interesting. I've met some bands that were recording it out of their closets and on their phones. It's just fascinating what happened and how people were able to pull the creativity out. But I also do believe that you have to love it if you want it to be
Yes.
um, a good project. So clearly you didn't expect the success that Haunt Me had. I mean, you took off. And how easy and hard was it to connect with like the other startup and up and coming bands like Vision Video, Twin Tribes was growing before
Right.
the pandemic. But what have you learned about the indie music industry? You've been in it from a while, but especially for Haunt Me, who was who was the most there for you and who was the easiest to connect with on, promoting, and who gave you like the first response? Like what
Oh,
band?
yeah, yeah. No, great question. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned Twin Tribes because they're from Texas too. So like
Mhm,
in a way, they're kind of like our neighbor. Even
mhm.
though we've never met them. We haven't met them yet. Uh,
Oh.
so I've never met them, but I have spoken to them like via like social media messaging and such. And they're super nice guys, super super great
Mhm,
guys. I look forward to meeting with them and hopefully playing a show with them sometime in the future. But I would say yeah, because I think Twin Trap started in 2017 because they definitely
mhm.
started way before I had even thought about starting a like a post punk dark wave project. At the time when they started, I was in an indie band at the time, which was it was kind of like a surf indie kind of like happy go lucky kind of band. It was cool. I mean, I like that kind of music too. I love all music, but yeah. So I specifically remember Twin Tribes like starting to take off like when I
Mhm,
was in like a different band with a different like pretty much a different scene, I guess if you want to call it that.
mhm.
But I think like the first band that kind of like reached out to, I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Well, I don't like I reached out to Twin Tribes like for advice, kind of, because
Wow.
when we first started, we started getting a lot of like literally like as soon as we released the first couple of singles and released our EP. So like when we first started in February of 2021, I released our EP and then I released like 3 or 4 like brand new singles. Just because I had been sitting on this music that I had writing during quarantine, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna release it and see what happens. Like I said, I had no expectations at all, and I released it, and then we just started getting a bunch of like requests, like, hey, like, are you going to get this on vinyl? Like, can you release this on vinyl and like cassette and like all these requests? And it was overwhelming, to be honest. Like, I was like, well, I don't know the first thing about like where to go for vinyl. I just know it's expensive. And so
Mhm.
I kind of, a few months like in, I messaged Luis from Twin Tribes and I kind of asked for his advice, like, hey, like, what do you like? How do you go about handling like all this, as an independent band? Because we're not on a label or anything like that.
Mhm.
And he just gave me really good advice. He gave me some connects, some other what they did when they first started, and just different pieces of advice that I like really used to kind of help me make the right decision for like what was best for Haunt Me at the time.
And this is why I love indie music so much is because you have to do it all by yourself. In fact, a lot of you post-punk bands of the pandemic era, the 2020 pandemic era, have inspired me. I'm like, shit, I might start a record label just so I can sign you and keep it your music. Like I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to mention it again because it's the best example that I have. Three Teeth was just getting I mean, they were already pretty famous. They were already signed with someone, but they opened for Rammstein, but they were pretty
Mm.
open. But then right before the pandemic hit, they signed for Sony, and I've yet to get a Three Teeth fucking album. Even
Wow.
though they spent all of the pandemic, the first part of it in 2020 in Joshua Tree recording. So I'm like, so what's happening?
Yeah.
Barely hear anything from Three Teeth. So this is why I have such an appreciation for independent music. Every front person I've talked to does everything. So are you still working your 9 to 5?
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. No, yeah, I still do it all. I work my 9 to 5 job, and obviously it's not something I want to do for the rest of my life, but I realize like it's something that I have to do for
Mhm,
now until I'm able to do what I really want to do, which is music full time.
mhm,
And it gives me the financial resources to be able to do it DIY. I grew up in the punk scene, like punk metal scene, growing up as a kid, so it's
mhm.
all very much DIY, which I love that about the punk philosophy. Do it yourself. And that's why, like, I
Absolutely.
always try to like either start my own record label or just be self-released, self-independent. I don't want to have to rely on a major record label to produce my album or release it or help us go on tour. Like, you're pretty much at the hands of a major record label. Like, if only if they like you can you sign with them. You know what I mean? But it's like, I believe in my own music. I believe in our music as a band, and I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. You know what I mean? Put my money in the project and self-release it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the hard work, and you could see it, you could feel it through the music. Recently, because I can speak today, recently you shared a note on Instagram that honestly, I'm just not gonna lie, I was brought to tears. Yeah,
Awesome.
I don't know, you came to me, your music came to me like during an emotional time. I was really emotional the last few weeks, was I not? Especially last week. That's why I was like so happy you said yes. Yeah, sure, I'll come on your show. But it did. I was reading the note that you had shared. You mentioned that you have been offered a record deal, Dying in Your Arms reaching number 8 on the German alternative charts and opening for Traitor and fucking Christian Death.
Yeah, yeah.
And holy shit, I love, oh my God. I'm dating myself with how much I love them. And then you hit over 17,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. Like, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you.
And based on that note, obviously you deserve it and you don't take it for granted. So you kind of did already mention what the success feels like, but I have to ask because I am all up in the tea. Every song from Dying in Your Arms to Make You Bleed or Watch You Bleed, which is like on repeat on all of my playlists. Like, I think I've added it 3 or 4 times. It's a perfect, like, kind of like fuck you. It's a real empowerment song, like it, especially for us vengeful women who are like, "You know what? Fuck that dude," or "Fuck
Exactly.
that chick," or "Fuck that it's a great song, but then the other ones, I was just having my son listen to you on I was just picking him up from school, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go talk to the frontman of this band real quick." And I'm just what happened? You said you were sitting on these songs. Who the fuck broke your heart? And I wanna know what this person is probably thinking of you now.
Honestly, like too many people to count, right? I mean, like, it's one of those things. Like, ironically, like I wrote that song "Watch You Bleed" because it is kind of like a post breakup song. Like
Mhm.
it's you're writing it from your initial reaction during a breakup is either sadness or anger, or sometimes it comes vice versa, reverse order. But yeah,
Mhm.
but I wrote that song actually when I wasn't going through a breakup. Like, I was like emotionally fine, but I just like um, kind of like harkened back to how I felt at the time
Mhm.
of a breakup, because that pain sticks with you. You have those emotional scars, and there's certain like songs I'll put on that remind me of like when I first broke up with my first ever girlfriend, or this person or that person. And so I just harken back to how I felt at the moment when we first broke up with a certain individual, and that's how I wrote Watch You Bleed.
Mhm.
At the time, I wasn't going through a breakup, but I wrote the
Okay.
song. Yeah, just like from that. But the album, "The Sadness Never Ends," is actually like it's really like it's a sad album, honestly, because there was a lot of different things going on.
Mhm.
One was the ending of a long relationship. It was someone that I was definitely deeply in love with and we were dating for years. It was the end of that. That was part of the reason I wrote the album. And then one big one, perhaps the biggest one, was my father passing, and I was very close with my father, and he was like my best friend, and so him passing was another huge element of that album. And then the other part of it is the loss of relationships, like not romantic relationships. A lot of
Mhm.
friends and people I considered family, that you think people have your back until like the going gets tough and until things really get difficult, and you kind of figure out who your real friends are. And
Absolutely.
so I lost a lot of friendships when during the whole writing period of this album for several different reasons. And so yeah, this album is just a sad album for a lot of different reasons.
But you know what? Sad as it is, it's actually perfect. Like I said, it conveys so many emotions that, I think a lot of people were feeling. I know it certainly resonated with me. So on that note, I had a feeling that, especially this sadness never ends. I hope you don't mind me asking. I've always contemplated this question. Clearly, you're a poet, an artist, so I don't think it's. I've always wondered grief. I have not. We experience grief when we lose, like you said, relationships. Like my most recent breakup or heartaches. I don't have any breakups, but my heartaches came from like adult children. Um, Friends who you think people were there for you, especially during a time where I even let people into my home and had to cut off friendships. And it fucking hurts because you're like, I know I have the best intentions out there. I'm known as this like community bringer, mother of the goths of Hollywood or whatever. But
You definitely feel those vibes.
yeah, so the album really resonates. But the question is do when it comes to grief, I haven't lost anyone so close to me. Like I know I will be probably devastated to the point where I couldn't live if I lose my husband, okay, or a child. I don't know how I'd go on, but then I also wonder like how awful I felt when I lost someone like one of those important friendships. What when on the aspect of grief, and maybe we can write a poetry or do some poetry on this later, but when it comes to grief, I've often struggled with, do you think that it's worse struggling with grief when you lose someone physically and they're gone forever because of death,
Mhm.
or when they're still alive but choose not to be a part of your life? It's a separate whole new chapter. Which do you think is worse?
Ooh, that is a deep question. Wow.
Deep as fuck.
That is very deep. That's a hard question. I think you deserve a raise for saying,
You
uh,
don't have to answer. Let's ponder that one for a little
okay.
bit, but
All
just
right.
keep it in the back of your mind. We could revisit it when I come see you play in July
Okay.
in LA and hopefully, well, LA and Portland. Hopefully, I
Yeah.
was like, I'm going to both of those. But ponder that question because I'm
Okay.
like, you'd be the perfect one to ask. Now, again, it is a sad album. So a lot of people go, especially in the 80s. Who did they go to when they were sad? The Cure. I wrote
Yeah.
that down. Let's see. Did I answer my own question again? It's true. I answered my own question and you answered it too. Okay, so let me know if I'm wrong, but it seems like a lot of the up and coming post punk bands know and support each other, especially at this point. I've noticed because I'm fans and I'm a fan of and interviewed like Dusty from Vision Video. I've seen Twin Tribes. I was too afraid to talk to them in
Oh,
person.
really?
I had to get back into it, and I was like, shit, it was my first show since
Oh,
2019. So it was
yeah.
like, oh, I still didn't know what to do. Um, but I often wonder, you guys all seem like you have kind of like the post-punk community between the DJs, the bands, and I know someone else, the fans, obviously. It's like this little family. Would you agree? Like you guys have this supportive little community and family.
Yeah, definitely. It is a very, very supportive and uh, yeah, just a really supportive community. I would say, like, I've been involved in a lot of other music before. Like I said, like I grew up a punk and metal kid, and
Mhm.
I've been in all kinds of bands, like anything from like punk and deathcore, hardcore to like indie rock and like music like that. I even played it in my church back when I was religious as a kid. Just like different things like that. Like every genre kind of has its own scene, if you will, and like every scene kind of has its own feel. But
Mhm.
the post punk scene has been super supportive, and like I haven't met a single person in the scene, knock on wood, but like that's been like mean or like a jerk or anything like that or unsupportive, especially like band wise.
Mhm.
Luckily, I hope that continues. I mean, I know it's probably impossible. I'm sure not everyone's a good person, but yeah, I mean, like I've been fortunate to have met like really awesome people, and every band that we've talked to or come in contact with has always been very nice and no egos that so far that I've met or anything like that, which is great. So
I love that. And Jason actors told me that, he worried about that too. Like it's so funny because I just see Jason as this badass that would be the one that would, everyone would be intimidated by, but he's, just like the rest of us. I think it's the goth in all of us where we're so tormented from everyone else. We're nice to each other for the most part. So I am curious to keep following along to see if you ever experience anything like that. Again, you grew exponentially in a matter of time by just releasing some songs, and I love that magic. Okay, so then we have like the ghost, the fact that the band is named haunt me.
Mhm.
I have to ask, being a horror and Halloween enthusiast, the shirt with the Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis kissing,
Yeah.
Laurie Strode, I need the inspiration behind it.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say you're a horror fan because I'm a big horror fan. I love horror movies and really I'm just a fan of macabre stuff. Like I told you before, I have a podcast that I do just for fun, and it's kind of like a true crime, paranormal horror podcast. I just do it with my friend for fun, you know. I don't even if we have zero listeners, like I know we
Mhm.
have more, but it's like even if there was just zero, it would just be a fun thing to do, you know, just because we love I love like watching true crime documentaries. I love watching horror movies and slashers happens to be my favorite like subcategory of horror. Like you know, there's
Oh,
possession films and
yes.
stuff like that. And but I love slashers, like cheesy slashers. Like that's I love that bread and butter right there. So when it came time to finally like put together a like merch design, our first merch design, I was
Mm.
like I was like okay, I wanna like I found this image and I love the image because Halloween is one of my favorite Halloween movies ever, horror movies ever, and the original, of course. And I found that image and I was like, man, this image is so freaking awesome. Like I'd love to use this on a piece of merch, but like, what merch would I do? And then I was like, well, we have a song, "Dying in Your Arms," and it's like a romantic song, but it's also kind of like a little bit of a, like a sad song, dark song in a way. And I was like, I feel like it would be perfect because like they're embracing each other, they're in each other's arms in that photo, and it's like that's awesome. Why not? I thought it was perfect actually for it. So yeah, I just chose that, and then I had my friend kind of help me design it, and that was like our very first shirt design, and
Oh, that
I love how it came out.
it's gonna be on my chest. I'm a huge Michael Myers. I mean, obviously, like, you
Oh,
know,
awesome.
he's my that's my boyfriend, you know. I agree. 78 is the best one. Actually, what is the name of your podcast? We're gonna need to put the link on that. I totally want
Yeah,
to tune in.
yeah. It's
And
called it's called the Devil's Hour, podcast for the strange and unusual.
I have my well, I don't know. It's kind of what I do. Like you said, I do these live chats. I'm doing one tonight. If you're interested in joining us, we're
Let's
gonna
do it.
do a little bit of horror trivia
Ooh,
for another band that just launched their GoFundMe, and it'll be a live chat, so I'll probably be a lot more goofy. But
awesome.
if you want to join us, but I'm definitely going to listen in, and I love the fact because I do believe that this type of music goes hand in hand with Halloween and horror, you know. So it's actually perfect because sometimes people don't understand that, you know, when we're talking about haunting or talking about ghosting. You wouldn't believe how many people are like, "Is that one of your Halloween songs?" And I'm like, "You guys don't know what ghosting means?"
Yeah.
Like, seriously.
That's amazing. I do agree though. Yeah, it's like perfect like Halloween music. Like if you make a Halloween playlist, there should be a lot of like post-punk dark wave music on there for sure.
Right, right, and it's perfect. So, okay, we're gonna have to talk a little bit. I'm sorry, we're gonna get back to the band, but we're gonna have to talk about horror a little bit.
Awesome. I'm all for it.
Top 3 horror movies, give them to me.
Ooh, that's super tough. That's really tough.
It's so hard.
That is very hard. So I'm predispositioned to slashers because they're my favorite like subgenre. But so Halloween 1978, the original Scream. I love Scream, and third one. So like it depends. Do you consider vampire films horror movies?
I do.
You
I
do?
absolutely do. They're kinda like the foundation.
Okay.
I
Uh,
absolutely do.
okay. Because this one kind of is like borderline. Like it's like, is it really horror? I mean, it's vampire, obviously. I'm gonna go with. Ooh, it might be a tie. I'm gonna go with either Blade or Van Helsing with the Hugh Jackman.
Ooh,
A
are we
lot of
best
people,
friends?
a lot of people don't like that Van Helsing movie, but I love it. Like I love the best like live action werewolves we've ever had on screen, in my opinion. Like those werewolves look so good.
They're pretty good. I'm kind of partial. I love the film. I remember I saw that in the theater
Mhm.
when it came out. It's actually one of the movies we turn on right as fall hits. It's such a good film, such a damn good movie. But the werewolf transition was dope because I loved how he was able to peel the skin off of him.
Yeah,
And who doesn't fucking love Hugh Jackman? I mean,
exactly,
fuck.
exactly.
And Kate Beckinsale, the sex appeal between the two of them was everything.
Beautiful
I'm
people. Yeah.
partial, right? I love werewolves. I love vampires, but I think, not that anyone's asking my opinion, the, werewolves in, American Werewolf in London, that transformation scene is the
Oh,
best because it's practical, but
uh-huh.
then you got Underworld as a close second, in my opinion.
Oh,
The
yeah.
werewolves in Underworld are pretty good, which
Yeah.
I also think are horror films. So people really say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to write that down for a horror topic. Who says Van Helsing is not a horror film? It has
Yeah.
everybody in it. Frankenstein, Dracula, werewolves.
Exactly.
The fuck?
That's what I'm saying too. Like I was a bit like so I've seen the Underworld. I think I've seen maybe the first two or three,
Mhm.
but I've never seen American Werewolf in London. Although I've heard about it. I've heard a lot about it.
Oh, it's so good. I wonder though, if you see it now, how are you gonna feel about it? I
Yeah, because
wonder.
it won't have the
'Cause
nostalgia factor for me, probably.
yeah, that's where I'm like, you'll probably think it's crap.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
mean,
actually
I
might.
like practical effects a lot. Like I love the old school like Dawn of the Dead movies or the old school zombie movies.
Mm,
Yeah, I love them.
same.
Yeah.
Same. So and that makes me wonder too, all of these cool synchronicities. What is your when's your birthday? Well, don't tell me your birthday. What sign are you?
I'm a Leo.
You're a Leo. Okay. I was gonna go for a water sign. So you're a
Thanks.
fiery Leo. All right.
Yeah,
Is your birthday in July or August?
August.
Yeah. Okay. The early August?
August 16th. So middle, kind of middle.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see, I have Leos in my family. You're a lot cooler than they
Oh,
are.
really?
Yeah.
Like, how do Leos? Because I really don't know much about zodiac, to be honest with you. How
Oh,
like, how are Leos usually?
they're usually assholey.
Mm,
Some of
yeah.
them are nice, but they're just like fiery. They're just
Uh,
fiery type of people. They're not typically emotional. So here's me going, okay, the witch in me, what's your moon sign? Because
uh,
clearly from the lyrics that you write, you're clearly an emotional person. So,
I'm
or at
very
least yeah, that you're in tune with it. So I'm curious about everything about you, Darius. Tell me about your other bandmates. So you
yeah.
do lyrics, you sing, you're the front person.
Mhm.
Tell me about your bandmates.
Yeah, so, like, in the studio, I kind of do everything, like, I write most of the music. Sometimes I'll collab with my guitar so there's only 3 of us in the band.
Mhm,
Um, I write most of the music. Sometimes me and my guitarist will collab and write together.
mhm.
So it's like I'd say, like, maybe, like, a fourth of the time or a third of the time, maybe, me and him, like, we'll write the music, and then the other 2/3, it's mostly me. But, so, like, I can play, like, guitar, bass, vocals, and all of that. So in a lot of the recordings, I'm doing the bass and some of the guitar, because like, some songs, we have, like, 2 or 3 guitars. But, yeah, in all of the recordings, I'm doing all the bass for sure. So I do vocals, bass, some of the, keys, some of the songs, and then like one of the guitars, and then my guitarist does the other 2 guitars for some of the songs. But so my other bandmates, like the guitarist name's Jordan, and he's
Okay.
a super cool guy. We actually met on like Craigslist for
I
yeah,
love
we
it.
were for like a different band. We were doing like a metal band at the time,
Okay.
and so that's how we met, and we kind of just started playing this together during the pandemic. And then my bassist, we've been playing music together for like a while. We met just like on the local Texas scene, just playing shows, and
Mhm.
he just kind of he came to one of my band's shows one time years ago, and we just kind of became friends that way. And I figured out that he was a musician also, and then we started jamming, and then that led to him joining my band at the time, which was like an indie band at the time.
Mhm.
And then I just progressed to once that chapter closed in my life and I started this band, I just invited them to join and just kind of started from there.
So were they were clearly eager. I'm so fascinated by the whole process. And you're going on tour this summer. How did you did all that yourself, I assume, made all the connections with everything. What made Okay, so being as PNW, I like to say SoCal and PNW because I dwelled in SoCal for so long and I'm just getting my footing up here. How did you connect with the Coffin Club? Is that a secret that we can't reveal on shows like this?
No, I mean we totally can. I'm an open book, so ask me anything you want.
Same. Oh, good.
Yeah, no, there's no like bad questions or inappropriate questions for me. Um,
Yes.
how did I connect with the Coffin Club? That's a great question. I think I'm trying to remember. That's an interesting one. So I'm trying to. I think for the Coffin Club, I was like, I had contact. So we played a show in San Antonio, and
Mm,
the booker there was like, just saying like, "Hey, I have connects like everywhere. Let me know if you need any help." Because I told them we're booking a tour, and like you said, I am doing it all DIY, so I'm pretty much handling all the booking because I manage the band essentially, like
yeah.
all of the bookings and all of the finances and merch and all of that. That's like I handle all of it. So I was trying to book all the shows for the tour, and I needed a Portland date. And so I told him that we were still looking for Portland, and he was like, "Oh, I know this guy up there. He books shows. He's like, he usually books for more like metal stuff, but just reach out to him and see if he can help you." So I reached out to him, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, I don't really book this genre, but reach out to so and so. Maybe they can help you." So I reached out to that person, and then and they were like, "Hey, sorry, I don't book shows anymore, but reach out to this person. Maybe they can help you." And literally, I kid you not, it was like a line of like recommendations, and then I finally got recommended to Coffin Club. Um,
Okay.
and yeah, finally it led to Coffin Club, like seriously 4 recommendations in or so. And I was like kind of scared to contact them because, well, they mentioned her name, and I don't know if
Mhm.
I should mention her name or not.
Yvette.
Yeah, Yvette. Yeah, I don't know if like if she wants the name thrown out, but someone had mentioned like, "Hey, reach out to Yvette, tell them like I recommended you or whatever," something like that, if I can remember correctly. And I was kind of scared to reach out only because like the date that we're gonna be in Portland's on a Tuesday, I think,
Mhm.
or Monday or Tuesday, and I figured like, oh, the club's not gonna be open, like, or the bar's not gonna be open because they're usually open, I think, on Wednesdays or weekends.
Yeah,
And
usually.
so I was a little scared, but I was like, well, you know what? The worst they can say is no. Maybe they'll have another recommendation for me. So I reached out, and she was actually super nice, and she was
She's
like,
awesome.
yeah. She was like, I mean, we're usually not open on this date, but we can make it work if we can get other bands on it. And I was like, oh, awesome, so cool. So yeah, she's been super nice. She's been nothing but helpful and amazing to work with.
That's dope, and it's really cool that she's the one booking. It's funny, I met Yvette. I hope she doesn't mind me talking. I'm actually featuring her at some point during the year.
No way.
But she is the nicest fucking person. I mean, I just came up here last year, and of course, where do you go as a goth? You go to Coffin Club for your first night out. And all I had known was Derek, Shadow DJ Shadow Play,
Mm,
and he was the one who used to book. So yeah, this is a whole thing because I'm starting to realize the pattern. And people in PNW like they kind of keep their secrets, but they're also like, but wait, we need people to show up. So it's funny. Yvette is actually super fucking nice. I had reached out to her because her boyfriend's band was someone who caught my attention, and
mm,
I had reached out, and she was managing that band. And I ended up going to the show. It was the night of Twin Tribes. It was funny because I had this plan of going to the Coffin Club and then going to see Twin Tribes at another theater. So the whole scene was going back and forth all night. Not me because I had to
mm.
go to sleep. I'm tired. But it's really interesting. So I'm really excited. So that's a weekday show, but you're also playing in LA, I think July 16th. Can you remind me where that venue is?
Yeah, so let me pull it up real quick because I
Okay.
even get lost sometimes with how many because I think we're playing 16 shows on tour.
Whew.
So we're playing a lot, which is good though. You know, we're trying to make the most of it. So
Mhm.
in LA, we're playing July 17th, and that is at the 1720 Warehouse.
Oh, dude, that place is dope.
Dude, that place is. I saw a picture. I'd never heard of it, and I looked up pictures, and I was like, dude, this venue is so cool. Like, I love it.
Let me tell you, I got a story for you. Just to
Awesome.
what to expect. So you've never been there.
No.
Okay. Speaking of Three Teeth, I fell in love with Three Teeth in 2018, and my girlfriend, it's funny, she's an elder goth. I was like, bitch, we got to go check out Three Teeth. And no shit, this place, 1720, where it's like legit in Skid Row. Like, it's not even Skid Row, it's just like in a shithole area of LA.
Whoa.
And my husband was like not there. And if he would have known, he would have been like, oh, you're not going to that motherfucking show by yourself. There's absolutely no way. So here's me and my girlfriend driving through LA, and the venue said, do not park at the venue unless, they have like the bands obviously get their parking spot. But for fans, you can't park. You shouldn't park there because they're notorious for getting your car broken into.
Oh my god.
And so I drive a Chevy Spark. It's like this big, it's bright green, has Halloween shit all over it. I'm like, fuck it. We're gonna take that thing if it's paid off. Fuck it. If it gets fucked up, let's go
Yeah.
live our lives. So here's two, skanky dressed women going to see Three Teeth. And no, I shit you not, it is a pretty dumpy place, but it was fine. We get inside, the lead singer, Alexis Nicola, basically said, and he was trashed. It was such a good night. He was like, and he has footage of this on Three Teeth's website somewhere, but he said, how many of you parked your car in this neighborhood? Raising my hand.
Yeah.
Other people, a handful of people raised their hand, and they were like, He was like, "Well, there's fucking homeless people fucking in your car right now. Welcome to District 9." And then they just went into another song. I lost my shit and my
Oh my
life has been
god.
chaos ever since. But my car didn't get broken into.
Wow, what the hell? So were other people started broken into?
No, we didn't see anything. And
Okay.
we weren't looking because of course I expected it because of all the reviews and such. Don't worry. That was in 2018. I can't imagine. We have Portland now where everyone's like, "Oh my god, it's so bad up here."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Y'all, I'm from LA, so I don't know what you're talking about. I
That's
see this."
I was gonna ask you about that. So like I've been to Portland once, and the downtown I felt like I've been to LA once also, but I went to like the touristy part. It
Oh,
was like
okay.
I was like in high school. It was very touristy. Like I went to the touristy part, like the Walk of Fame and
Mhm.
all of that, Chinese theater. So I didn't really feel like I've got to explore the whole city because it's so massive. But I went to Portland and I went downtown, and the downtown was super like gritty, like super like felt like I
How
was in
long ago
Gotham.
was this?
Uh, it was last year, 2021.
Okay, so it was just a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's interesting to me is again, I'm coming from LA. So
Mhm.
when we came up to Portland, and the whole thing is this has been a thing for my family for years. I actually wanted to live here, since I was 16. So it was a dream come true. So when we came up through Portland, we of course heard all the struggles of what the city's going through. And I'm going again, I'm from LA and you're telling me there's not a police presence. Of course there's going to be bullshit. This is how LA was. Downtown LA was back in the 80s and 90s when I was growing up. It's just a place you don't go.
Yeah.
Here's me at midnight, fucking middle of the night a few times in downtown Portland just walking, having my social drinking cigarette. Parking's $3. I still feel that Portland is okay. There was one time we did have to avoid needles, but I feel like it's still a lot better than LA, than from what I've seen in LA. Again, I guess it's shit. I mean, of course, there's a lot of problems. There is the parent crisis, the unhoused crisis. But again, it's just hard for me to compare because I LA. So to me, it's beautiful. And if you were only here a year or two ago, I don't think anything's changed. In fact,
Okay.
people are probably saying it's a lot worse. I personally have not had any issues anytime that I've been in downtown Portland, knock on wood. But I also have my big bear security guards. No one can fuck with me. Um, Not that I'm again worried about it, but I've always had these beautiful, pleasant experiences when I've been down there. So, and it to me, it's just beautiful. I find city life beautiful, but I also find laying naked in the woods beautiful as well. So it just depends. As long as I don't have to live there, I'm cool. So
Yeah.
I'm sure if you need any advice, I got you. If you need a place to crash for that show, you can have my basement, full
No, you're so
privacy. I
kind.
tell people like other bands, if you guys need a place to crash, because I know what the tour life is. I
Yeah.
saw my friends do it last year. They had to rent a van from San Diego, drove all the way to the West Coast tour. They smelled bad. I'm like, why didn't you guys ask me to? You guys could have stayed with us. I would have fed you and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's so nice of you. I appreciate that.
well, I have a passion for artists. I want you to keep making music, not just for me because it's all my pleasure, but just for the fact that I believe that one of the biggest quotes, I think it came from Gandhi, but was adapted by other ones, is that the world right now doesn't need more successful economic people. What
Mhm.
we need are artists. We need teachers, healers, and I fit into all of those categories because it's what's in my heart. So I don't expect much other than just let me be at your show and let me be myself at your show and just say hi and take a picture with me. That's all I ask. I will pay for my thing is I want to support you.
Yeah.
You made something beautiful. I resonate with your music 100%. So I'm really curious of what your other bands were like. were you
Okay.
always were you always the front person doing all the lyrics and stuff? Were you always like the manager with all your other bands?
Yeah, actually, so for this one, I was in a few indie bands, and yeah, I was the front man lyricist for those. And before that, I was in a hardcore band, or
Mhm.
deathcore actually, and yeah, front man lyricist manager for those. Before that, a punk band, same thing. Yeah, so pretty much all my life, I've been like the lyricist, vocalist. Yeah,
That's
pretty much.
amazing. So what a few more questions for you. So what as far as your influences for Haunt Me are like The Cure. I was listening to you earlier as I was doing some writing and I felt like I was back at Peter Hook and the Light for a little bit there. I saw Peter Hook and Light in 2018, right after Three
Mhm.
Teeth, in fact. Helped me calm down. Just slightly for that moment. But I mean, I get so much that you convey. That's what I love about this post-punk, this new post-punk goth music wave, because
Yeah,
it's being done beautifully. It's being done
agreed,
right. Like,
agreed.
no insult, right? To like Susie, Peter Murphy. Like, I'm not even that thrilled that Bauhaus is coming up here. I've seen him. I'm more excited to see you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you. Are you kinda like a little caveat, but are you going to, Cruel World Fest in May?
Okay, I have another story.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Okay, so I actually wanted to. When it dropped again last year, when they were like, "Hey, we're doing tickets again," I signed up for that expensive ass payment plan.
Ooh, yeah.
Since then, I mean, I had just moved up here, and my husband and I were just talking like, I especially didn't comprehend how much it costs to move 2 states away, and we came from California. So it was really, really, really expensive, and here's me racking up more debts, getting on a payment plan for this Cruel World concert that's a year later, and I've seen half the bands already. So I in the midst of a depression, I actually went and got my money back because I was like,
Mhm,
honestly, with my newfound introvertedness, I and the music festival scene, I'm getting older.
mhm.
I want to have more intimate experiences. So I will not be at Cruel World this year. Sorry, guys. I will be eating burritos if I'm even in town in LA for it. Are you gonna go?
Yeah, I'm gonna go, the second day because the first day was sold out, and,
Okay.
so I'm just gonna I've general admission, so I'm gonna go with a friend, but I've never seen any of those because, like, obviously, like, I'm young, I'm still in my 20s, so, like,
Mm.
I haven't seen any of those bands except not even them. Yeah, so I haven't seen any of those bands live that I can remember.
Wow, you
So I
were in
definitely
for it. And I'm
yeah,
really curious because see, for me, I think you'll be okay. Like for me, I'm the witch who will melt. You saw when I came on, I was like flushed.
yeah,
Um, and that was just because I was running up and down the stairs and I'm on meds, so my stomach was hurting. So I'm like, fuck, dude. But I cannot, I'm worried about the heat and the sunshine. I'm like, how are these goths gonna fucking endure an entire day, 2 days, in fact. I think it's the
mhm,
same show the next day. How the fuck is this going to go down? And there's so much, there's like a lack of info about it. Not that I'm trying to dissuade anyone from going. I just don't think I have the mental capacity and I'm
yeah,
too much of a stoner to do it all day. You go have all the fun. I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to love Bauhaus. You're going to love Christian Death. You're going to love who else is playing? I've, I can't even think about it anymore because I'm going to be upset when you guys are all there and I'm just like, fuck, I regret this.
a lot of people are like Devo's playing, Blondie, I
Yes.
think, yeah, Blondie, Morrissey,
Are
Soft
you
Kill.
I love Soft Kill, and they're from PDX or from Portland. How do you feel about Morrissey? Are you a fan?
I'm a fan of the Smiths. I'm not
Same,
a fan of him as a person and his beliefs and what he said before.
same.
But yeah, but his music, like, because I know some people like once Morrissey started really saying some really like just let's just call it dumb stuff. Um, like a lot of people stopped listening to the Smiths, and it ruined the Smiths for them. It didn't ruin the Smiths for me, but I can understand if some people don't listen to them anymore because of Morrissey.
It's
Um,
hard. And Alexis McCall, the leader of Three Teeth, always he taught me that there's this thing about separating the art for the artist. It's like from art from the artist. It's a personal choice. It's like, dude, I grew up listening to Marilyn Manson. How am I supposed to just stop? You know what
right.
I mean? I don't like publicly play his stuff or anything, but if his song comes on, I'm not going to throw a fit.
Yeah.
He didn't ruin the Smiths for me, Morrissey. I love the Smiths. I just
Yeah.
don't associate him with the Smiths.
Agreed. Agreed.
If that
The
makes
Smiths,
sense.
it totally makes sense because like the Smiths is a band, Morrissey's just an
Yeah.
individual. So
Yeah, it's like
um,
a community. Like people are like, "Oh, fucking Texas, fuck everybody in Texas." No, 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 no. I know some great fucking people in Texas. It's not all them.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then people are like, "Are you going to go to Texas for?" I got a lot of shit from a few black horror content creators about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre because I'm a fan. I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? How is a movie
Yeah.
you know and I'd
Mhm.
like to consider myself an activist, but I'm like, come on, it's at one point again the art has to convey itself somehow. I'm not going to cancel every piece of art. So
Yeah, of course. And then also another thing I like about Texas is like, so like the major cities in Texas are pretty blue, like they're pretty progressive
mhm,
and liberal. It's really the rural parts of Texas that are like red and conservative.
mhm.
And of course, there's more rural parts than there is like major cities, so it's a majority red state. But like Austin, San Antonio, Houston, and
Right.
Dallas, like those are all blue cities for the most part. So yeah, I
That's
mean,
what
there's a
I've
lot of
heard.
people, and there's a lot of people, like especially Austin, which is where like we are based out of from, or it's where we claim. Like Austin is super like keep it weird. It's the same slogan as Portland.
I love
Um,
it.
yeah, there's a huge LGBTQ community here, and an even bigger one in Dallas, and like we're just very like we embrace everything. We embrace all the weirdos or like the freaks. You know
See?
what I mean?
I
Yeah,
mean, it's there's safe places for people all over the place. It's just it's so hard to see when the world is just piling all this shit down our throats. And it's so funny because here we are, us goths, and I this resonates so much as we're sitting here, sad music makes us happy. It's
yeah,
just part of the art, your music again really makes me feel it. Just I think it's because it resonated so much. It's just a lot of feelings. I was talking to one of my girlfriends. I'm like, dude, if I had it's funny, a lot of my girlfriends my age are all single now. They had their awakening, midlife crisis, whatever you want to call it. So they're all single. I'm like, you guys have a perfect song to send to your exes.
yes, for sure. And like that's why I'm glad I chose that as the album cover too, because like I wanted it. I didn't want it to be like, oh, this is like, a song about her. I wanted it to be like, yeah, that's why I chose like that as the album cover, because I wanted it like for a girl to listen to it, or a non-binary person, like anyone of any gender or whatever they claim, like identify as, to be able to like relate to the song. Like we've all
Mhm.
had like a shitty ex, right? Or we've all had like a shitty relationship where we were just pissed off, or and that's what I wanted the song to be about, just like those initial feelings of anger and like betrayal from
Yeah,
like a relationship, whether romantic or not romantic. Um,
that's so dope.
yeah,
Okay, so one more. I'm sorry I keep going back and forth. It just hit me. So you're going to the Crow World Fest. Do you sleep? How are you gonna do it? When does the tour kick off? June? The
uh,
end of June, right?
towards July 9th. July 9th is the first day of tour.
How long is it? Is it weeks and weeks or
It's like our last day of tour is like July 27th. That's
fuck?
like 3 weeks, I think. Something.
And you are and okay, so you're doing LA, you're in Portland 2 days later, you're in Seattle the next day.
Mhm, correct.
Damn.
And then we're coming back down because we're coming back down because we got to make our way to Phoenix because that's where we're playing with Traders.
Mhm.
So on the way back down, we're probably gonna play another show in either LA or San Diego.
That is so fucking dope. So I gotta send all the San Diego
Mhm.
cats over there. Are you driving, flying? How does this work for you?
Driving, driving.
Fuck. With
Yeah, it's
these
gonna be.
gas prices and everything.
I know,
So,
dude. Oh,
like,
man.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you sweat. I'm doing
No,
a
it's
road trip down to Southern California at the end of the month, and, we were just I was like, "Is it gonna be cheaper to fucking fly?" The problem is I gotta drive around all over Southern California, so we just may as well just drive. But I'm like, "Fucking shit." My concern and the first thing I thought of is how are the bands going on tour that are gonna do that? Jason Corbett of Actors mentioned, like, "Great, about to go on tour. Gas prices are fucked in America." And
right.
so this is where it's very, very important, especially for those who are listening and watching, that you guys buy the merch, donate, even if you can. Like I said, I will help where I can. I will buy you guys when at the LA show, I intend to be there. I'll buy you drink, food, or something. I don't know where I'm staying, can't help you with that. But Portland, you can come to my house and sleep, and I will feed you. I'm a mama, so I will feed.
Thank you.
And
We'll
you don't have
always
to
get
pay
that.
for anything. And you know what I mean? You don't have to pay for that part of it because I want you to keep going. I don't want the tour and the mishaps that may or may not occur and hopefully don't occur
Mhm.
keep you from doing this again. I think the
Yeah,
worst thing that I could see is being as I can feel how good Haunt Me is, you're on to something huge here, clearly.
thank you.
And you're just
Yeah,
going to keep getting bigger and bigger the more you get exposed. So, you have to keep going, despite all odds. And I think you know that. And you're young and you're clearly full of wisdom. You got this. You just need your fans to put the effort in. So when there's a Bandcamp Friday, you guys pay for it. It's what, $2 a song, sometimes $10 for an album. It costs as much as cost. Support your damn fucking artists. These people heal. I think you guys have more medicine, more healing powers than anybody else, even if the music sounds sad and low or grumpy or melancholy. It's you guys have to keep going. So That's what I'm here for.
No, thank you so much. Honestly, that really, really means a lot, especially like honestly, we probably will take you up on that Portland offer for sure. That would save,
Please do.
yeah, just
I, you know, I got this house, you know, we got this house because I have a young adult kid, and I was hoping he would come live up here, but he was like, no, I'm gonna stay in California. So I have this whole basement that's just like, we call it our theater.
ooh, nice.
And I'm like, so and my husband's like, you just if your band friends need a place to crash, if you have a full bathroom, you have it all. So take us up on it and I'll feed y'all. And like I said, just take a picture with me during the show or after the
Of
show
course. Yeah, no, 100%.
for my social media. Darius, you're fucking amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I can't wait to share this video. Anything else that you want to add you know, to this conversation?
Um, ooh, I just thank you for this opportunity to be on. You're an amazing host. I love joking and laughing with you. It seems we have a lot of the same interests, which is
Yeah,
amazing. This didn't even feel like, you know what I mean? It just felt like a normal conversation between friends. It didn't even feel like anything formal, which is great. I love that.
that's what I do.
Um, I love it. Yeah, I'll talk to you after the show. You can send me like what you're doing tonight because I'd love to maybe if I have the time to
Absolutely.
go into that trivia. But yeah, I just want to say, you know, anyone listening who's is a fan or who just listens to our music or likes it, you know, thank you so much for your support because we really have grown a lot in just a year. But like, we couldn't have done any of this without you. Like I said, like when I first started this, I just did it for fun. I just did it because I needed it for my own mental health and needed it as a creative person. I needed to just do it. And the amount it's grown and the amount of support we've gotten from the community, from DJs to bands to fans to friends, it's been overwhelming and it's been tremendous. And we are beyond grateful and humble for all the opportunities we've gotten. And we're just so appreciative and thank you. And we hope you continue to support us and we hope you continue to like the music that we release.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think that's going to be a problem. Thank you, everyone.